going across the bottom, Rob first from Schneider Electric. If you could, just for a moment, talk about what other industries your solution plays in.
Certainly. So great, and thanks for giving us some time here. So yeah, again, Rob McGreevy, Schneider Electric. We serve a number of different industries. On the infrastructure side, clearly we focus on the power generation T&D side, as you heard from Bernie's presentation and discussion. We also serve a lot of the other infrastructure markets in water, wastewater, things like smart cities. And then on the manufacturing side, we do quite a bit in terms of your traditional sort of industrial manufacturing, consumer packaged goods, CPG, food, beverage, brewing, beverage, and obviously oil and gas. So we're in a bit of basically any of the large industrial market segments that are out there. And of course, we serve a whole variety of different applications and solutions within there, primarily around this topic today of predictive analytics.
All right. Next, going across to Siri, if you could, from ABB, could you talk just for a moment what other industries that
yeah, sure. Thank you for
Asset Health Center.
Absolutely. So the Asset Health Center, as Jeff talked about, was primarily a transmission and distribution solution. But we have, the same kind of solutions in the mining industry. More recently, transportation industry. We have a contract to work with the railroad industry. So we're looking at expanding the solution into that. And of course, we have similar solutions like this for also the process control industry.
Thank you. And Rahul, you could comment similarly. Okay.
On our side, we cover aviation.
All right.
So our solution is essentially OEM agnostic. So
okay.
on anything that has sensors.
Excellent, excellent. So now we're ready to take questions from the audience.
Is the mic on up there? Because it doesn't sound like it. It is now. Thank you.
Thanks, Paula. Who put up their, who's asking a question? Any questions from the audience?
Come on, we've got a room full.
We got, okay. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Brandon Perkins. I work for GE. My question is actually for Bernie. Very interesting presentation. And my question really revolves around when you have a catastrophic failure, the incentive is there to do something. So my question is, had you not had a catastrophic failure, what would have been the motivation for you to do this?
We were already thinking. Can you hear me okay? So we were already thinking about some of these things and seeing some movements in other industries. I don't think it would have been as aggressive, obviously. Good things can come from bad things, right? And that certainly did for us. When we took this up to Public Service Indiana, we had a lot of the same questions. And really, we looked at the last 10 years of failures, and we seemed to forget real quick in the power industry. And when we identified those failures and showed their leadership in Indiana, it was a done deal. So, but you're right. It certainly expedited our efforts.
I've, just to add to that just a little bit, as you can imagine, I've listened to and learned a lot from a variety of case stories in this space. And usually there's some kind of catastrophic failure that gets management attention. And once you have senior executive attention, they're much more open to these kinds of programs, unfortunately, rather than being proactive. Any other question? Sorry to make you run across the room, Paula.
So you have the operators really moving to target where they're doing their maintenance, and then at the same time you have equipment manufacturers, particularly in a slow project environment, really trying to drive their aftermarket and focus on gaining a higher percentage of their installed base. So I guess my question is, as products get more complex, who do you see doing the incremental work? Is it going to be more done in-house, or is it more the manufacturers of the equipment themselves being brought in? Or how do you see that kind of
Well, I have an opinion on that. I think that as equipment gets more and more complex, it's going to be more and more difficult for a general purpose technician in plant to maintain it. At the same time, you've got the aging workforce thing going on. So, and also at the same time, we're fortunate enough that IIoT is starting to get general acceptance. We've noticed over the years that adoption by OEMs has first occurred in the semiconductor industry where you had $500 million pieces of equipment, very complex, very technical. And it's then moved into $1 million pieces of equipment. It's moved into $100,000 pieces of equipment. And we know a lot of in our client base, a lot of people who make $50,000 and $10,000 equipment are now developing IoT solutions to do the condition monitoring and provide support. So we see the definite trend, the part that's crossed the chasm, as we like to say, is where the equipment supplier who really has a deep understanding of their equipment and can write algorithms to monitor its health, those are the first ones coming to market to, or that's the first area of adoption, to use a better term, for providing condition monitoring, asset health, and then even sometimes support services to do the repairs. Yeah. I don't know if some folks here would like to add to that.
I'll add to it. So you know, there's throughout this conference, you must have seen the monitoring technologies which are based around analytics that are predictive. So you have data for an equipment being modeled, and how it's trending. You're watching it over 3 months, and then you kind of model it. That is being done across the board. What the OEMs get into the play is that they have been designing this equipment for years. So they have these physics-based analytics that now plug into these monitoring systems also, which and that's the added benefit that an OEM gets into the segment is not only the trending analytics but also the physics-based analytics. Combine the two together, and that's, I would say, the next edge.
So I'd like to add to that. One of the things that I think is key to this whole discussion is the aging workforce and being able to preserve the knowledge that utilities and utility operators have collected over their careers, right? So that was one of the big driving factors for the development of the Asset Health Center. One was to be able to capture the information that resided within the utility experts. The other was for us within ABB to capture the expertise that resided within each of our OEM groups. And last but not the least, and I think Jeff mentioned this earlier, we have the ability to bring in other models that could be things that you would want to benchmark against, or things that you would want to see in addition to what you already have, right? So I think that's one of the key things in here, to be able to capture that knowledge to make it institutionalized, right? As you look at data going from information to knowledge, we ultimately want it to become wisdom, so that that can be really institutionalized and used across the board.
I like to say that in our business, we're curators of an operating museum. And we've got lots of 60, 80, 90-year-old equipment, and to get one OEM to do it across all the different OEM brands that we have, across all the generations, et cetera, I think is a little problematic. Where applies best is if it's a very specialized kind of equipment, like high voltage DC and fax, or in our case, a synchronous condenser. We don't know what to do with a rotating machine except ask our generation guys for help. If it's out on the transmission grid, to us, the idea of a rotating machine is when a transformer falls off the truck. So we don't have the expertise there. But on the other stuff, we're curators of an operating museum, and our central expertise, because we're a very large company, probably serves us well to do it more cost effectively ourselves.
Yeah, despite what I said, let me point out that Andrew, Bernie, and Jeff are all from the end user community and came up with condition monitoring, predictive maintenance solutions. and clearly they're not OEMs. So there is adoption in both areas, obviously. All right.
I have a smart signal question. You can sort of do that in a couple ways. You can use their data center and sort of consume those reports that you were showing, or you can actually implement it inside of your own performance monitoring center. I'm just curious which route you took and why you took that route.
We actually acquired Smart Signal with a plant that we purchased in 2007, I believe it was, and they were running Smart Signal, and they were being monitored by Smart Signal. So they were doing that initially. When we did an evaluation and decided that we wanted to expand the use of predictive analytics and use that for the majority of our generation, we did an evaluation of, does this make sense to continue to have Smart Signal do it, or should we start up our own M&D center, basically? And the conclusions were to create our own M&D center with the thought that, and I mentioned this in my presentation, but the thought that bringing in our own people who are familiar with the equipment that we're going to be monitoring, they know the people. There's pluses and minuses to both, of course. The cost of the facility, the people are of course a cost for SRP, but it made a lot more sense, and having that communication between us and the plants is really key to keep that a open communication and have that trust level between our staff and the center.
Well, I love this topic, and I would love to go on for another half an hour with the Q&A session, but unfortunately, it's 5:30, the time for the end of the session. I'd like to point out that we're in track 3, so please provide your feedback through the app. If you like what you saw today, we're in track 3. If you did not like it, we're in track 5.
Thank you, gentlemen. Great job.
Thank you.